We are quantum beings, all of us.
First of all, you have to time travel naked.
Here's where you put your clothes before you travel back in time.
Well, it's kind of evil white people from the future is what it is.
It's either a terrible idea or the best idea
ever. Oh, I remember H.G. Wells wrote something good.
It's actually, you know what? It's girly.
Whoa.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
She could be my girlfriend. Shatner wrote his own sequel.
It was fun. Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear me as a guest each week on a different podcast. You get to discover new shows. I get to talk about a variety of topics. This week, I'm crashing a show called Timey Wimey TV, where you'll hear everything from obviously a lot of Doctor Who talk and actual talk about time travel, which is interesting because Dr. Stephen Hawking, there was an article today about Dr. Stephen Hawking who has said that there are 3 possible ways that you could actually travel through time. I find that really fascinating because I think it was the Japanese scientists said that time travel is impossible. So to have Stephen Hawking actually come out and say, no, there's actually 3 possible ways you could travel through time. A really fascinating story that you can Google. And I'll get all into the timey-wiminess later on. Right now, I am joined by my very good friend from Comic Book Live, improv performer, comedian, actor. He does an amazing cosplay comedy as Wolverine, Patrick Ian Moore.
Hello.
He's joining me because he's sitting next to me as we're talking about all this stuff. But what do you think about time travel? It just, to me, when I think time travel, all I think is Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind because I think I saw it at such a formative age, especially.
Do you own a down vest?
I do. I have. I didn't even mean to have all the costume pieces, but I think I have a full Marty McFly with a skateboard.
So when is the Back to the Future version of Comic Book Live going to happen?
I don't know. I remember watching that cartoon though, and I liked it. Back to the Future, Quantum Leap, and Bill and Ted, I think, were the things that I was most into when I was a younger teenager.
What about Doctor Who? Like for me, Doctor Who, I discovered when it was just it was sort of around like Monty Python, when I would watch Monty Python in junior high, and Doctor Who was on. I just remember really mocking it. First of all, liking the scenarios, but mocking it for its low production value, which also becomes kind of charming.
Yeah, I think I liked all that stuff about it. But when I first started watching Doctor Who, I was so young, I don't think I knew they were traveling through time. I think they were just going to different planets and things like that.
Right. But time travel is a big part of Doctor Who.
For sure.
And probably some of the best movies that, to me, The Time Machine, the old one from the 50s, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, is amazing. I loved it. I wanted a data girl named Weena. I mean, I love that movie. Time travel to me just creates so many great scenarios. And we talk about all of that on Timey Wimey, but you and I are going to be performing. We should get this plug out of the way. You and I will be performing at WonderCon. That's Saturday, March 30th. At the Anaheim Convention Center in Anaheim, California. You can get more information at comic-con.org/WCA, or you can go to facebook.com/PodCRASH. And it's 7:30 p.m. Saturday, March 30th. Adrian Curry is my guest. In addition to Yoshi Abayashi, if you heard episode 69 of PodCRASH a few weeks ago, Yoshi Abayashi will also be joining me on stage, which is interesting because it's going to be a family show. And so the first half is going to be me doing an episode of PodCRASH with them as my special guest. Second half is going to be us performing a very special Comic Book Live version of Star Wars Episode 7.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I cannot wait for that.
Since there's absolutely no Star Wars Episode 7 news other than the fact that they're signing the original trio, Han, Luke, and Leia are back, potentially Lando, because all those actors have said that they're coming back. But like, what? Since there's really no Star Wars Episode 7 news, what Star Wars Episode 7 Comic Book Live news can we look forward to? I think we're gonna see the cloned Emperor.
Yeah, I was about to say, how much is secret?
It's just for people who listen to this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
But the cool thing is about WonderCon is also it'll be, let's say you're not going to WonderCon. You're listening to this podcast, you think, I'm not going to go to WonderCon. It's too much money. Anaheim, I don't want to go. You can actually watch the show live if you go to youtube.com/PodCRASH or you go to youtube.com/comicbooklive. You will see... We'll be live streaming from Comic-Con. You'll see the live stream. I believe it's the PodCRASH TV channel we'll use. And we'll be taking questions from our Google Hangout audience. And in addition, I'm going to be revealing revealing a, I don't know, I guess I should just let everybody know. I've built a mobile podcasting unit. It's awesome. Like, you're seeing it as a work in progress. I've been working on this thing for...
I'm excited by it, for sure.
I've been working on this thing for over a month. It looks like it's actually made from a drink dispenser. I'm going to be honest. It's one of those cheesy drink dispensers, but inside of it, I've mounted video cameras, lights, stuff to record a podcast, everything you could possibly need to broadcast from somewhere live via the internet. So I will actually be broadcasting live from WonderCon. So if you go to youtube.com/PodCRASH TV, I will be rolling through WonderCon. You will actually get, I will go up aisle by aisle through WonderCon, and you will get to see everything there. And I will be doing coverage from there, just of the show leading up to the PodCRASH event, which will include the Comic Book Live performance. So I'm really excited about it because Adrian Curry's going to be there.
I'm really excited that we're going to be there for the full thing, too, now.
Right.
I was going to come down Saturday, but now Friday through Sunday, for sure. Now, the drink dispenser, did that start as an R2-D2?
It started as an R2-D2, which ended up being Tommy Bechtold's costume in Comic Book Live, our Star Wars costumes. But
now you took it and kind of modded it into an actual droid, even though it just started out as like an oversized toy.
Oh my God, you're right. I have made a droid. I got to think of a name for it. I'll tweet out some pictures. I think it should have a really complex sounding name, like the Podcast X1000B. Like some sort of like weird like designation where it sounds like it's a droid, because it really has everything I could possibly need. I even put drink holders on it, so that so that I could keep some stash of drinks in the belly of it, and then just pull them out if need be. It's also got a separate microphone specifically to be used to interview, say, whoever comes up to the device, this rolling thing. I don't even know what to call it. It's PodCRASH Mobile.
Yeah, like the mobile Podbot.
It's the Podbot. So the
mobile Podbot 13,000.
Yeah, the mobile Podbot 13,000. Although that could be considered unlucky, 13.
Well, it's just because it's what year it is. That's the only reason.
Now, wait a sec. This is the weirdest thing. Okay, so we don't have... I've never really had a paid sponsor for this podcast. When I say really, I mean I've never had a paid sponsor for this podcast.
Right.
And I've been doing this now for like over a year, which is fine. But you can actually support the show. You can support the show by going to sideshownetwork.com/podcrash, and you click on the Amazon link, and then you buy anything after you do that. If you're going to go shopping on Amazon, just go to sideshownetwork.com/podcrash, click on that Amazon link, and just buy anything. It helps support the show. It helps support me. And I've received no dollars from doing this, but I love my audience so much. And I'm serious, because you know me, when I would hang out with people around, I feel like I can't, you guys have to tell me to shut up.
Oh, no, we don't ever have to.
You should tell me to shut up. I talk a little too much on the show, which I'm working on. Even right now, I think I'm talking a little too much right now. But what's funny is that like I will have people send stuff that is interesting to me, whether it be like cool T-shirts or just something weird. And I got the weirdest package from a company. What is this? You knew about this when I got this box. What is this? It's Canna Bliss, spelled Kanna Bliss. It looks like an energy. It looks like a 5-hour energy thing, but it's not.
Couch Lock is the actual company.
The company's Couch Lock. So it says, let's see, there's different flavors: Magna High Voltage, and
I think this is Couch Lock.
Couch Lock. Okay, that's the. So these. So when I first get this, I think, oh my God, I've gotten some marijuana in the mail. Like I've gotten. But you're saying this isn't. You've actually tried this. It's not. What is it?
It's an energy drink that's cannabis based, but as far as I know, it does not get you high in any way. But it's kind of designed so that you can get motivated, even if you've been smoking a lot of marijuana, still using a marijuana-based product.
So it
seems to be.
So it's for the pot smoker or someone who indulges in marijuana who has a test that they've got to take the next day or a paper due.
Sure.
Yeah. Are you going to try some?
Or a job. Oh, yeah, I'll drink.
You're going to try some? Try some right now. I just want to see what the effect will be.
I think I tweeted about this a second ago. I believe I tried one of these last year in San Jose at the Big Wow Comic Book Festival. Where I believe we're going to be back this year with Comic Book Live and possibly.
It's so funny how almost everything in our conversation ties into a plug.
Yeah,
we're plugging something where it sort of all ties in. What's it smell like?
It smells good because
it does smell.
I get these ones. I don't really have a sponsor, but a guy for a different company gives me a lot of these. They taste terrible. I mean, they taste like airplane glue filtered through gasoline with. Brewed in a dirty shoe.
They're even worse when they brag about the flavor because then it's bad. Like 5-hour energy drink in cherry.
No, this actually tastes pretty good. This just tastes.
What's it taste like?
Kind of like really low budget purple drink.
Low budget purple drink. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's sort of like what's your favorite flavor? Blue. Yeah, I like the blue.
We got purple stuff. I do like the purple stuff, though, too.
Well, the funny thing is those awful...
This is good.
It is good? Well, those awful 5-hour energy... I'm not doing a plug for 5-hour energy. I'm saying I have used those in the past. I just think that they're the worst tasting thing ever. I would rather go through the trouble to make coffee. There's that horrible commercial that they do about, you have to make coffee. Oh, I can't stand those commercials.
Yeah, I don't think these are really a substitute for coffee.
But, so you're someone who indulges in the marijuana...
Sure, for medical reasons.
Right. And so this is to...
Like Dave Chappelle, I too sometimes find myself just being too aware.
So this kind of... that takes the edge off of awareness and reality in a sense.
Yeah, you don't want to pay too much attention to things.
Nice. All right, well, I can see how that can be useful sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So I'll try a different one of these.
Wait a second, you're going to drink them all? You can't drink them all. That would be bad.
I'll just drink 2.
So you're going to drink 2. All right, I would not. I think that's pretty dangerous.
But we do have big plans, so I should get...
Well, this is weird. So, strange week. This is the second week I'm doing something Batman-related. Yesterday, I went to the ArcLight Theater in Los Angeles and saw the 1989 Batman digital projection, which was great. Ran into a bunch of friends all sort of bound by our... I love that movie, but it's really the Joker's origin movie. It's a great Joker origin movie, the original 89 Batman. And I've since sort of rethought I dislike things about that movie, and then there's certain things I think are amazing. I think that Michael Keaton as Batman is great in it.
He's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
He's still, I don't know. I mean, it's
more than the costume.
Christian Bale brings a real he's the way Frank Miller writes him, and that's great, and that's cool, but I still, when I think about Batman, it kind of goes...
Excuse me.
Adam West, Michael Keaton, and Christian Bale which is not my favorites. That's just like the order of how the faces come to mind.
Well, it's sort of like arguing about, favorite James Bonds. I feel like...
George Lazenby.
What you could do is say, you could sit there and argue who's the best Batman or who's the best Bond, but it's like you sort of take their body of work and say, what was the best movie... or TV episode among those people. Like, what's to me the best Batman movie? If you're going by Batman as a character, in terms of the Christian Bale's got to be Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. In terms of Michael Keaton, I think that the Batman Returns is probably better.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that I remember people being upset that they didn't cast some muscle-bound, guy just who looks like he works out. Keaton, right. He's no slouch, but he's no Chris Reeves. He's not 220.
But why would Bruce Wayne, work out for 6 hours a day?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we just put electrodes on him and then just sort of do those cheap ab workouts. But I don't know. It's just fun re-experiencing that because I saw that movie a ton of times in the theater and then seeing it again digitally. And then now tonight we're going to I don't even know what this event is sponsored by some junk food T-shirt company. Mm-hmm. We're going there. This is going to be. I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this. It sounds like we're doing a lot of plugs. I just happen to. These are just things that we're doing. You do get invited to things just being around. So we got invited to this thing because we're big Batman fans. And Adam West will be there, and they're going to talk about the release of the Batman television series on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think technically they're calling it the Batman 66 Party.
Is it? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is a good name. I kind of feel like I should have heard that before. Like, I really had to hunt to find out what the event was called.
Do you have a favorite villain from the original 60s Batman show?
I think I do. It's Shame.
Shame?
Yeah.
Played by Cliff Robertson?
Played by Uncle Ben.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish he had... I know he was on an episode of The Brave and the Bold, but I just think he's the most underused and completely awesome villain of all time. Maybe because I'm from Oklahoma and I have the whole cowboy mythology is still kind of bred into me.
Was Shame ever in the comic book?
I think he was in like the Rogues Gallery in the Justice League or the Super Friends comic book adaptation that had Zan and Jaina, which is that issue. That's how I learned to read.
That's wow. That's comic books I think really, thinking back, that really helped me too. I mean, it was the first thing that you really recognize, like, you don't even, first of all, you don't need to read words to be able to follow a comic for the most part. And then secondly, wow. And children, comic books.
The read-along things were so popular back then. Like, I had this really awesome Batman comic that came with a vinyl record where the Joker stole like one of Picasso's clown paintings and they were after him, and I think that's how I learned about Picasso too.
Yeah, those ridiculous ones where it's like the Joker has now changed his hair to pink. There'd just be like these weird, like,
how will they recognize him?
But it's weird because I would get sucked in by those, like, well, they changed his costume. Anything where there's like a costume change is like a big thing in comics.
For sure.
And up to today.
I thought Marty McFly's like futuristic version, like that the sun was still wearing kind of an orange over blue thing and Nikes and riding that was funny.
It was like Marty McFly from Earth 2.
I always wanted those shoes so bad too, those high top self-lacing Nikes.
Didn't they? I think they made some. Did
they really do that?
I don't think they really did that. I think that's a special effect.
I'm sure that I'm so ghetto about costuming though. I'd probably get one of those like knee-high Chuck Taylor Converse All-Stars and spray paint them silver.
You could do that, and you could also just make the sound effect with your mouth.
So it's almost the year that Back to the Future 2 is set in now, right? That's 2015?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because it's a 30-year gap from 55 to 85 to 2015.
Wow, yeah, I never thought about that.
And some things, like our phones, are better than they make them look like they're going to be, but the cars still totally aren't.
But still no hoverboards except in toy form. I think Mattel, they did a hoverboard, but it's a toy. It's not.
Did they? I thought that was a prank.
I think the technology is still far in the future. But let's talk about time travel.
That's why I tied it back into the Marty McFly Earth 2 costume. I was trying to
You were trying to give me
back on the time
a good
travel
segue?
cue.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So I was on a podcast called Timey Wimey TV, which is hosted by Liz Shannon Miller and Rudy Jushan. And I'm pronouncing that incorrect. Jushan. Sorry, Rudy. Anyways, so Liz.
I like Duchamp.
Liz was a writer on Attack of the Show, which is how we knew each other. I didn't even realize she did a podcast, and it's dedicated to time travel, sort of discussions of time travel, and also Doctor Who. And here it is. I'm on Timey Wimey TV. Timey Wimey TV.
But today we have you here, Chris, because I think you are a film expert.
Some have called me a film expert, but I just have seen a lot of movies. I can't shy away from that. Yes, I've seen a lot of films, and so I sort of have that referential background, so to speak, to draw from.
Right. Well, the important thing here is that Rudy and I have talked about a number of time travel films on this podcast, but it's kind of scattershot because of course our focus is usually on like television shows.
Have you ever talked about The Time Machine?
We touched upon it.
Oh, Weena.
It's largely it has been me shouting about that scene where
I'm not talking about the Guy Pearce one. I'm talking about the fifth one from the 50s.
Oh, that actually
the Guy Pearce one was terrible.
Yes, we haven't touched upon that one. No, but we're here because
we only have very short memories, so the last one just overwrites whatever we previously saw.
right.
Like, only like what's called? It's only thank God that Time After Time has a different name than Time Machine that I actually can look back at that one fondly and say, oh, I remember H.G. Wells wrote something good.
Right.
It's only because of that Rudy can remember that H.G. Wells wrote books as opposed to just was a character in,
It's going to be like so sad when the new 20,000 Leagues comes out underneath, Under the Sea comes out, because then the Disney classic is going to be wiped from my memory.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right.
Is that the thing that's happening?
Yeah, well, last one was like Will Smith and...
Oh, dear.
It was either David Fincher or someone else who was attached to it. I was like, that's a terrible idea.
Fincher? Yeah. Well, actually, it's either a terrible idea or the best idea
ever.
Yeah. No, it's one of those two things. But, so, Chris, we brought you here tonight because we really wanted to hear...
This is not an intervention, right?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Fairly
thank
certain.
God. Oh,
We're
thank
fairly
God.
certain. But we wanted
watching
to hear...
too many films.
We wanted to hear what your favorite time travel movies were.
Well, you already mentioned one of them, Time After Time.
Yeah.
Malcolm McDowell.
Nice.
Such a great, the main villain is played by, am I right, David Lawrence? The guy, he was also...
I think so.
Yeah.
He was also in, the villain in Tron.
Nice.
Oh, excuse me,
Yeah.
David Lawrence. I'm saying David Warner.
Yeah.
Sorry, David Warner. Why did I say David Lawrence? David Warner.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
I'm going to time travel back and erase what I said. Just rewind like 15 seconds.
That's the way it works.
We'll inject our DeLorean sound clip that we always use for
that's
moments
awesome.
like that.
But yeah, Time After Time was one I saw when I was a kid, and it really made an impression on me. It's got all these romantic comedy aspects. It also has one of the classic, scenes of a lot of time travel content, whether it be Star Trek 4, Time After Time, or the original Time Machine, is fish out of water scenes.
Yeah.
And there's that great scene where Malcolm McDowell's eating the French fries.
Oh, right, that's right. It's like his first time he's experiencing the joy of
he's
it.
eating at McDonald's, I think. It's pretty funny.
Is it literal, like McDonald's time?
I think it's actually McDonald's, if I recall correctly.
which one it is, but I do remember the scene. My favorite scene in that one is that, I love it because it's just delicious, where David Warner's pointing out, don't you see? This is my world. Like when he shows him the television and everything.
Oh, that's
and it's such
amazing.
it's just this, and then also then he takes away his glasses, which is such a small thing, but it's like you're no longer in dignified Victorian England. And I'm also a Ripper aficionado, so like having those two stories combined of
oh my God, yeah. No, it totally works. And it's got the great fish out of water stuff, and then also all time travel, anything time travel is a comment on the present. Always. Or the present in which that piece of content was created.
Right.
No, it's great. Yeah.
Thank God for the 70s fear of urbanization.
Like Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, is about horrible fashion on the ancient cast of the Starship Enterprise. Although they fit in almost too well in San Francisco of the 80s. Did you notice? Like those outfits are just the worst that they're wearing. It's just terrible. And I really think that part of, I don't know that anyone has ever admitted this, but my guess is, knowing how much they bled the budget dry on those Star Trek movies, that it was look, just have them go to present day. Look, and in retrospect, that movie doesn't hold up.
Oh, really?
It does not hold up. It's one of those ones where it's you watch it and you're like, oh, it's cool, the whales and all this, and it's a whole let's not kill whales.
So yeah, that story is that part of the story is definitely weak. I think it holds up only if, it holds up as a Star Trek movie. If you love those characters and then seeing them in the present day. Their interactions with people. But yeah, the main plot line is terrible.
I mean, I have this thing with Star Trek 4 where it's the movie. If I was going to point to anything in my pop culture experience that made me into a giant sci-fi nerd, that would be it. Because I loved whales, and I loved whales, and I loved whales, and I was just so excited to see whales and sci-fi combined. And so yeah, I have a deep fondness for that movie. I also love, I can't tell you how many times a month I quote the scene where, Scotty's confronted by a Mac Classic, and he picks up the mouse. He's like, "Computer, hello, computer."
Yeah.
I love that.
Actually, even before that, he's just
that's
talking.
The fish out of the water stuff.
Yeah.
It's
perfect fish out of water stuff.
It's actually good. It's also great because it's not. First, he talks to it and it doesn't work, and then someone points out the mouse. He's like, Oh, yes.
Yes.
And then he talks about and that's the brilliance of that scene.
It's like, oh, I wasn't using it correctly.
So does Star Trek 4 on your list, or no, it's not?
I would say it'd be at the bottom of the list if there was a list, but I feel like this is a collective list. I don't want to dominate that. Yeah, well, it's also like, when you saw that movie, I think is important. Sort of there are movies that I loved, movies and TV shows I watched as a kid where I look at it now and go, oh, that, something that I would put near the top of the list that I don't think anyone considers a time travel movie, but technically is Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's a good call.
Planet of the Apes is one of the best. It's such a comment. And what's amazing about that movie, I also happen to like, just from being a fan of indie film, I like anything that is radical, that's making a radical statement in the context of something that's mainstream. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, The Simpsons.
Right.
Brilliant cartoon show. Yeah. Time travel has been a part of The Simpsons. Many Simpson episodes. A lot of the Halloween specials.
Yeah.
But what's cool about The Simpsons, you could never get away with talking about drugs or religion on a traditional sitcom, but you can do it when it's little cartoony drawn yellow people. So what's cool about Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, the original from 1968, 1969, is how just dark that film is. It really is about how man is worthless and destroying the planet and will eventually destroy himself. I just thought about this, but if you're going to be really good at traveling through time, you have to be good at cosplay. I feel like all the work that you and I have both put into making costumes, like I'm working on a very special costume for WonderCon. You've got some costumes you're working on. You're working on General Zod.
Yeah. For
an upcoming show.
That's going to be fun.
And I feel like if you're good at cosplay, you would be good at traveling through time. Let me explain.
I think I know exactly.
You know where I'm going with it?
Explain, though, but I like
you need to know what the fashions are in the period. Mm-hmm. So you literally, if you're traveling through time, you're going to have an amazing suitcase, or at least something you could shrink your wardrobe, shrink it Barbie or doll sized, and then maybe that you could carry it all in a backpack, but you would have hundreds of different clothes from different eras.
Or a backpack full of hammer space.
I think that would be interesting. You should this would be a crazy person's outfit, but you could walk around with a backpack filled with Barbie clothes from different eras, and then just say, you could tell someone, oh, these are just when I time travel, I have to take these with me. Yeah. But then these tiny clothes, what I'll do is I'll shoot my ring at them to enlarge them, because I like to shrink them because it's easier to get them through time.
For sure.
And then you're traveling with a backpack filled with Barbie clothes. That's a weird, but think of it, you'd have to be really good at cosplay. If you're going Victorian era, the Roman era, you'd really have to look the time.
Yeah, I've thought about that before.
All right, hey, you know what? Cosplay is not a completely worthless pursuit. It's not something just to do at a convention. It's something to do when you travel time. Yeah. The best time travelers are the best cosplay people.
If you're wearing the wrong thing, you're going to get burned as a witch so fast or something like that. Have you read To Say Nothing of the Dog?
I have not, no.
Like, that's pretty cool because it's a really good book, and it's about, like, the future, but it's very British and, like, realistic. But they're time travelers, and the guys keep their hair in the fashion that is most acceptable in the most number of periods. And, like, they have a whole costuming department. And they're very meticulous about, like, taking classes on how to shave in an older style and other things that, like, all the problems that have come up, they're constantly correcting. It's really meticulously written, but it's cool. It's a good book.
I feel like you could sit there and study forever, but even if you went back 10 years, you would look out of place. Just because of like I'm not just talking about fashion, but just the way people talk and interact. I feel like even a span of 10 years would seem like a lot. If you went back really to the 50s, you'd have to be probably a lot more racist and sexist. You'd have to be, just look at Mad Men. I mean, they at least they adhered to some sort of accuracy to how people related at the time and what the social norms were. I feel like those alone are things that would give you away a lot.
I want to go back to the time that they talked like this when they were on the radio.
Back to the 20s.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to Timey Wimey. I think all great science fiction is a comment on something, some social ill, something about, although a lot of it just gets it's like, okay, I get it. We can recycle. All right. We're recycling to the best of our ability. I can't recycle anymore. We don't need this as a story.
Okay. So I want to segue on that track. Like, Let's hit the Terminator films. Like, I mean, where in terms of commentary on society, where do you feel like those fall?
Not as much. I mean, there's not as much commentary in those. They're pretty much like, I'm thinking of the first Terminator.
Right.
It is commenting on, do we put our trust in technology? I mean, that's sort of I only put so much trust in technology. Right. Meaning I like to have backups of my data. But yeah, I mean, the comment I think is pretty thin and also right near the surface on that. What I do like is when it's sort of just below, like, oh, I noticed it. Did anyone else? Let's talk about it. Because really with Terminator, there's not much to talk about with those movies other than like sort of the craziness of it. What I love with time travel movies is the different methods of time travel. Like in Terminator, like there's a big ball of energy that first of all, you have to time travel naked. Kind of cool. I think the idea that you have to time travel naked, it's like, no, we invented this time machine. Just, you can't wear clothes.
Did you ever
Which has got to be either in the future, some scientist invented a time travel machine in which you can't wear clothes, which I can't imagine a scientist not being that efficient, or it's a scientist with a very interesting sense of humor.
Yeah.
Even though that means that Skynet has an interesting set of humor, because technically it was Skynet who invents time travel.
Oh, really?
Like, if you read all the back literature, is that Skynet, realizing they're going to lose the war, invents time travel. And this is the part I think is brilliant for budgeting. It's like, and for some reason decides, oh, I need to wrap it in a naked male in order for it to go back in time safely.
Well, I think one of my favorite details from Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles is that in a flash forward to the future, we do see, like, I guess essentially what Matt comes down to the locker room for when you go back in time. And
oh, wow. And the clothes?
Yeah, it was just like, here's where you put your clothes before you travel back in time.
But how many, I mean, you're creating different timelines.
Yeah.
Each time you disrupt that.
It's a mess.
Well, the Terminator universe at this point is a mess.
Well, yes, we're speaking, of course, about that last film. I thought Terminator 3 was interesting. I like that because we got to see a moment that had been talked about, which was the beginning of the war.
Right.
That I thought was kind of cool. But I just think it went off track with the Christian Bale. I
actually am one of those few people that enjoy it, but not as a time travel film. I actually enjoy the action and directing. But it like the storyline loses me, and the only good moment in it is that last little bit with the special guest appearance of you know who, and then like, oh, that was kind of pleasant to see. Yeah. And there's just small touches in it, but like it has no time travel in it whatsoever. Is the big thing that
have you ever discussed on the show time travel vehicles and like which are the best ones?
No, it's something we should.
You have the TARDIS, right?
I think
and you've got like what are some? You've got, of course, the time machine, the original.
Yes, the DeLorean.
So like the DeLorean. So like in terms of like time travel vehicles, I mean, there's so much talk of like, well, a Star Destroyer could destroy the Enterprise.
The
yeah.
And like, I like those kind of debates, but it's like, what's the coolest time travel vehicle and or method?
I think that's actually a really good question because
I've never heard this discussion come up anywhere on the internet, and now we have begun it. We have begun it.
Okay, look, if we're talking we're talking like the ultimate classics. We're talking TARDIS versus DeLorean versus.
No, we should create the roster. Like, what is the roster of vehicles? And then they battle.
I'm going to toss something out here. It's not vehicles. It's mechanisms.
Mechanisms by which, okay, you can loop around the sun in a Klingon warbird. Okay,
Klingon warbird Enterprise, because that was first done on the TV show.
Which one?
The Enterprise was the first one to do that. That was
But how did they do it in the original? You're talking the original series.
They did the same thing. They walked around the sun.
Is that what it was?
They discovered it accidentally.
Right.
It's like episode 7 of the original 7
I feel like we need to rewriting these down.
The Naked Time. It's like when they
There's going through a little mirror thingy.
Yeah.
Where you go back and you meet Edith Keeler. That actually, I mean, I know that's not, I know you were talking about movies, and I'd like to hear your choices as well.
We're doing that. It's like, okay, there's a mailbox in front of a lake house. That is technically a time travel.
Yeah, the lake, way to call back the lake house. Starring Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock in the American remake.
Right. There's that, but then there's also, I don't know if that's considered time travel. in Star Trek Generations, it's that the
Nexus.
The Nexus is that. I don't think it's time travel.
No.
It's basically space heroin.
Well,
it's space heroin, right?
No, it does. It does. However,
we do not accept
the
drug
Nexus
references
does, however, let Stewart. It does let Picard and Kirk shoot back to a particular point in time.
They do.
They do.
It does.
They do.
You're right. It does. Yes,
they do technically travel through time because of it. I only know this.
Kirk does.
No, Kirk.
No, both of them
failed.
They go to the array.
You're right, because they go back in time. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Damn it.
this is more attention to Star Trek Generations than should ever be paid to Star Trek Generations.
Which has the best death line ever.
What is it?
It was fun.
It was.
And then Kirk dies. That's the worst death line. Come on, not live long and prosper.
Planet save.
Kirk couldn't have transferred his brain into something. He didn't learn anything from Spock.
Oh, the worst is
just mind meld and download your brain.
There is. It continues on in the literature.
Oh, it does? Yeah, I'm so glad I don't read the literature.
William Shatner wrote his own sequel.
I heard about that.
Where the Borg resurrect Kirk's body, so he is now
no!
And like the third, and then Picard has to go back in to rescue him.
It's not a real thing.
No, it's real.
Oh, no.
I've heard about this. Here's what I love about bad Star Trek novels that are considered canon is it's more fun to talk about them than it is to actually read.
Yes.
Yes.
Always.
If you try to read those things, it just doesn't.
I think I've only enjoyed one Star Trek novel, which is Vulcan's Glory, which was like...
Well, you clearly haven't read Inzadi.
Oh, no, let's not go there. Let's not go there. But
it's interesting that I think time travel methods, I think that's something that we should list.
Yeah.
And discuss.
The list is long, though.
No, it's
long. DeLorean, but then I like the different kinds of methods. There's, like in Looper, you don't ever even find out what it is.
Yeah. Nope.
You just pop. Which is what I like about that movie.
They show the machine.
Actually,
where do they show the machine?
Because you see the timeline that Bruce Willis has.
Oh, right. Okay.
And he actually climbs into it. It looks like a bathysphere of some kind.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting.
I want to know where Looper fall. If you were if in your arbitrary list of time travel movies you love, where does Looper fall?
I'd say that's definitely up there on the list because what I like about it is it showed the impact of time travel on people in terms of how certain key moments in life affect them, right? Like it affected, and I'm not talking about having your fingers chopped off. I'm talking about like actual emotional things. Yeah, emotional things that inform and like your attitude and your way of looking at the world.
Right.
Right? Like
if you know when you're going to die.
Right. Like if, for example, just to bring this back to Batman for a moment.
Right.
I'm not bringing it back because we never talked about it. Or did we? And I'm traveling in another version of this podcast. In some way. What if, I feel like you could go back in time if any of Batman's, rogues gallery of villains could invent time travel, they could just go back in time, prevent Bruce Wayne's parents from being shot, and then he would not have the inspiration. He'd just be a rich playboy, probably kind of boring.
Desert Island time travel movies? Yeah, singular. I'm going to give you...
Let's never talk about it again.
Yes, I'm giving you one. Because we've talked a lot about
Is this one of those situations where, like, I only get one wish, but I could wish for more wishes? What if I got a time travel movie where I could travel in time to just get other time travel movies?
That'd be wonderful.
What if my movie was Netflix streaming? Could that be my movie?
That'd be wonderful if it was true. But no, because I feel like there's always
only one.
There's just an instinctual, like, what's your not your, like, what you think should be your ultimate pick, what should be like everyone's ultimate pick, but like, what's the thing you want to watch? Like,
well, I feel like if you're going to ask that question, you should also have an answer yourself. So what's yours? You show me yours.
Oh, I know mine right off the bat.
I'll show you mine. Oh, let's
We're ready to go.
Yeah, Back to the Future. Like, hands down, the best time travel encompasses everying we have to do with the whole genre.
And here's what's great about that movie also is it's repeat viewings.
Yep.
It holds up to repeat viewings to today. So the idea of I've heard rumors of that being rebooted or what. I'm so glad.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, there's just nothing and that's why I think Back to the Future I completely would agree with you. I'll come up with something different, but I agree with you. And what's great about that is Crispin Glover. Crispin Glover's performance is really, he is...
Oh, yeah.
He sells it. He sells that entire movie.
Sells the entire thing, which his absence in 2 and 3 is detrimental to those movies.
Yeah, you're wondering, like, who is that guy?
I love the fact that, by the way, that their solution to handling the fact that Crispin Glover couldn't be involved was, let's turn an actor literally upside down and
no one knows that it's not Crispin Glover.
And that movie, his absence from the movie, because I remember talking to him about this actually, because I met him at Sundance and he has his trilogy of movies.
Nice.
The indie movies that he self-finances. Mm-hmm. You'll have to look them up.
Is that the one was one of the rap one?
What's that?
That was something else.
This will put the podcast in another category if we talk about what some of it is. Because it involves, one of the movies involves an actor with cerebral palsy having sex.
Okay.
And it's very graphic.
Sure.
In any case, Crispin Glover was all he wanted. He didn't want any more money. He just wanted the same money as Michael J. Fox and the other actors. It's just like, I just want the same as everyone else. He wasn't like, but he was portrayed in the media as being very demanding, and he was upset by that. And then not only that, do they like not use him, but they hire an actor who looks like him, put prosthetic makeup on him,
more like
and then just throw the character in, and he was appalled by that. So he sued, and it wasn't even Zemeckis, it's just like, hey, a lot of times directors are the slave of their budget.
Right.
So, So I'm saying that Back to the Future, I agree with you, and Back to the Future 2 and 3 would have been much different movies had Crispin Glover been in them. And I wish I could go back in time and somehow make it possible for Crispin Glover to be in those movies. And there's probably a way to do it. I mean, heck, if they can, if they can take actors and digitally insert them, a present day actor into an old movie, there's got to be a way to take Crispin Glover and digitally insert him into 2 and 3 and make those movies better.
That's true, because the Blade Runner Final Cut came out and they actually reshot with some of the original actors some scenes.
Well, and they shot like scenes with like Harrison Ford's son.
Yeah. To put stuff in there. But then it went too far, I think, this past like 2-3 months ago, one of them actually shot even more scenes by herself as a stripper. And so one of the strippers with a snake. Wow. And it was like, okay. Yeah. Let's just do that. Yeah. But
yeah, so that's your desert islands Back to the Future. I would say I fully support that choice.
Yes, I will.
So can I go to your island?
Yes, go to mine.
Yes.
What's yours?
On my island, we will be showing, and this is a little controversial, I feel.
Okay, let's hear it.
But you know what? In general, I know especially especially boys who were teenagers in the year like 1992 or 1993, love Terminator 2. On my island, we will be screening Terminator 1.
Interesting.
Because and it's actually, you know what? It's girly. I think it's a better love story. I love it as a love story.
But Sarah Connor in the second one, she's so buff and badass.
She's super buff and badass.
That's the thing. Terminator 2 is for the boys, where you're like, whoa.
Yes. Yeah.
And she could be my girlfriend, and she's badass.
Yes. Yeah. But for Terminator 1, it's just, I think it's a really well-constructed love story, and I know that, let's leave aside, like, how much of it was cribbed from other writers. Let's leave that aside.
You're talking about Harlan Ellison?
Yes, exactly.
Demon with the glass hand?
Yes, I'm maybe talking about how maybe James Cameron whooped a little bit
Isn't
of that.
there's an upgraded, they had to change the credit on the film itself, is the credit has changed. I mean, he's given, due.
Yeah. No, he definitely,
I love Harlan Ellison.
Yes, he's a delightful cranky pants.
I've been to his house. I can tell you some stories. Oh, he's great. He would, when I was doing Film Threat magazine in the 90s, he was a subscriber and he would call me up after every issue came out to yell at me about stuff that I had done wrong in the magazine.
Where you're like, I wish there was some sort of network of information where he could leave comments to me on my
that
posts.
Would be awesome. But, and then he invited me out to dinner. We went to his house, through a buddy of mine named Dennis Daniel, a radio guy. He connected us. And I loved Ellison. I read that book. Oh my God, I'm spacing on the name of the book. It's where Harlan Ellison joins a street gang, and it's his story. I mean, this is when street gangs in the 50s were just like starting to become a thing.
Right.
Juvenile delinquents. That book is incredible. I can't believe I can't think of the name. I want to go back in time and tell myself the name. But I went to his house, and it was just amazing, the tour that I got. He showed me his comic book collection.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Which is like bigger than this room. And
it's a very big room right now.
And it is what he did was, first of all, it's really strange because I come over to his house, and he showed us a bunch of different stuff, and he's like, hey, I'll show you my comic book collection. He blindfolds me.
Oh, interesting.
And leads me down the basement, and I'm like, I'm gonna blow Harlan Ellison. Something creepy is gonna happen. He's gonna make me blow him. I'll probably do it. If it's for Amazing Fantasy number 15, I'll do it. And it was just the weirdest thing. And he actually took my head and like grabbed by the top of the head. But it was because the ceiling was low.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh my God, something creepy is going to happen.
Not because he wanted you to.
No, he was just perfectly, but he is so paranoid, not surprised, that he didn't want people to know where his comic book collection was in his house.
Wow.
Well, I know it's in his basement now, so.
It's in his, so he took me down there, like led me down with the ceiling.
Which basement?
He could have multiple basements.
And anyways, when he unblindfolded me, it was just this, it just looked like nothing.
Yeah.
He took this like crank and uncranked it, and what happened was the wall kind of opened up, and it was like an accordion where a bunch of shelves were like sealed like this, but you undid this crank, and all the shelves sort of opened up, and then all the comic books were there. I mean, it's like showing me like Action Comics #1, you know, stuff that like freaked me out, like. No. Comics they don't keep out at Comic-Con in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
That's insane.
So that was, I mean, just that, to be able to witness that was just amazing. Are you a Harlan Ellison fan, Patrick?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah? What's your favorite Ellison story? What do you have one?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, I love A Boy and His Dog a whole lot. And I like that movie a lot, too. He wrote this really, really scary one called The Grail. Mm-hmm. That was one of the short stories in this great big book I had called The Essential Ellison. And that was really, really cool. It was real kind of Lovecraftian. And then have you ever read Man with the Glass Hand? Read the story? I don't know if I ever actually have. Yeah, you should. You know what? They did a comic adaptation of it that I know you will love. I have it. I will lend it to you. Nice. Great. Let's get back to Timey Wimey.
Well, if I was feeling like particularly classy or whatever, I would say that Primer is my desert island choice. And maybe that's because A, Primer is one of the smartest time travel movies ever made. Or B, it's because, hey, I'm stuck on a desert island. Maybe if I watch Primer enough, I'll understand what happens in Primer.
That's funny. I
have a beach, you can draw all the timelines out.
Yeah, I'll have some time to figure out what happens in Primer.
Would this be considered a time travel movie? Run, Lola, Run. In the sense that
I'll allow it.
She foresees a timeline in which she takes certain actions that end up with a result that is the undesired result, but she's already run through it. I don't know. I mean, I guess to the viewer, it's not, because it's all in the brain. I don't think so. I'm actually not going to allow me to.
I would allow.
I thought it was such a clever device.
Because it's essentially 3 alternate timelines, but the alternate timelines affect each other.
Right.
And there is essentially, by the time she is running through the 3rd timeline, the choices she made in the 1st timeline affect the choices she makes in the 3rd timeline. So there is a sense...
Does the 3rd timeline affect the choices in the first 2?
They don't, but there is a sense that she is traveling back to the same starting point.
Okay.
So it's essentially like, let's say she was starting, it's like she's playing a video game, mm-hmm. and she's playing through it 3 different times, and she's learning from her experiences each time. It is not perfect, but I would argue that Run, Lola, Run could qualify as time travel. It's more time travel.
It's your desert island. So
the thing is that
also it's your
I love that. I love that movie. It's not considered science fiction, but I like the idea that you can actually tie. To me, it's the movie that closest is able to convey the fact that time travel could be, in a sense, real. at least from the standpoint of you can weigh a choice and see the consequences of a choice. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what that whole movie examines.
It's also really fun.
It's also really fun.
And it's soundtrack.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack. But it's also like, and her hair is amazing.
Her hair is so amazing that it maybe made Larry Wachowski into Lana Wachowski.
Yeah, that's true. Possible. Yeah. But
I want to look like that.
No, that is actually, no, he literally, she literally said it in this Nerdist interview on, Nerdist podcast interview that she came out of Run Lola Run and she was like, I need to watch this again. She loves Run Lola Run and she may have, I don't know if she explicitly said that she changed her hair to match, but I think you can't deny that it's an influence.
Well, it's not just that. It's also that character. She's so strong. I mean, that scene where she's in the casino and just so frustrated and screams and breaks she affects the outcome. I wouldn't consider it a time travel movie from a genre standpoint, science fiction. I would actually reject if I were sitting where you are, I would not allow that. However,
what can we say? We're gracious hosts.
You are, yes. I think because I'm the guest, you're giving me a little bit more latitude. I wouldn't consider because the method of time travel is really her mind. But I think that shows it's like, okay, time travel, while technically may be impossible, scientifically speaking,
right?
I'm not, but I just think it's because we haven't thought of it yet.
Actually, the funny thing is, Anathem. Anathem. It's a book. Neil Stevenson. There was a huge. This is spoilers for Anathem.
Huge spoilers for Anathem, everyone.
Spoilers for Anathem, but there's a big sense on that book about. Where, the whole book it's in an alternate world in ours that for the first time ever, like they believe they have alien contact. And the only reason is because someone just noticed like that star moves differently than all the others. And it's then like halfway through the book, it's discovered that, they're not aliens. They're humans from other timelines that keep going back. And it's basically like an arc ship that keeps going back in time and picking up more humans, because no matter which reality it enters, it seems to cause havoc and chaos. But ultimately ends up in the most twisted, like, it just goes beyond where the basic idea is that we are quantum beings, all of us. Our thought, what we're seeing is our consciousness, that we could actually move it into a timeline ourselves by mere thought. So like, it's not that like what we think as our imagination is us temporarily switching into a timeline that we're, it's really cool, weird.
Oh, I love stuff like this.
And so it's like, he's like, when we're imagining stuff, we're peeking in that other world and seeing what could have happened there and what will happen there. Like we're shifting a timeline that's a bit sped up or a bit behind. And so it's like, and what happens in that as the ending is really like, it ends like these four guys around the table kind of nodding at each other going, that was a trip, wasn't it? Let's never speak of this again. It's for the good of mankind. And it's pretty cool. And so, the thought of like your mind being a mechanism of time travel is actually a pretty intriguing idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Run Lola Run, you're allowing it.
You're allowing it for that. If you could say that she's switching to a different continuum.
Well, in a way, like in her brain, and then I like that. And then it's like the anticipation of, how is she going to handle it? I feel like that's what's so cool about it. Whereas I feel like in Back to the Future 2, that wasn't as compelling because you're like, he's just entered the same timeline. We know what happens. It's not nowhere near as interesting.
2 is I love 2. We were talking about it recently where we watched it recently and I was like, you know what? 2 is a lot better than I remembered it. And actually the part I found, when you're a kid and you watch it, like, hover skateboard, coolest thing ever. But it actually is quite brilliant in the last third of it when he's back in 1950s and how does he, how's he fit in the timeline that occurs there? And some brilliant tricks are pulled forth in it. And I'm actually not a big fan of number 3. I mean, I like it.
It's such a beat for beat echo of,
Oh yeah.
It pays off like Doc Brown finds his true love. I mean, that is.
It's a fun. It's a fun.
It's a fun romp.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff in.
I like that it came out 6 months later. It wasn't like 3 years.
Yeah. I got to put a shout out for Back to the Future, the video game.
I never played it. How was it?
The adventure game was great.
Really?
Like from the same people who did the Walking Dead game, that got rave reviews last year. Day before that, did Back to the Future, and it's a fun game. And the really great thing about it is the ending to it, because that will blow your mind for Back to the Future.
All right, no spoilers.
No spoilers there.
But so
run, Lola, run.
We'll give you run. I mean, look,
give it to me.
We've had we seriously on this podcast we have debated whether or not Captain America is a time travel movie.
Yes.
So.
Well, there's one Godzilla movie that's a time travel movie.
Really?
It's one of the more recent ones with Ghidorah. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah.
Oh, that's right.
It's characters from the future come back to the past, and they actually create Ghidorah.
Yep.
And then Ghidorah is defeated, and then Ghidorah returns again, the bionic version of Ghidorah. So so it's sort of the evil. Well, it's kind of evil white people from the future, is what it is.
Yeah, it was basically Americans.
All right, that's it for this week's show. I really want to thank Liz and Rudy for having me on their show. They were really, it's a great podcast. I mean, if you love Doctor Who and you love real conversation about science and especially time travel, sort of speculative science, I happen to love that kind of thing. I mean, it's fascinating to me that we live in an age where, I grew up watching reruns of Star Trek, and now so much of the technology. I mean, we basically have a tricorder. It's so funny when I feel like when I use something like Yelp, it's like it's like a tricorder. It's like scanning the area. There's a bar there's an Irish pub over here. Let's go there. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Oh, this is the planet where we're all gangsters. I love that whenever they go to a planet in Star Trek, and it's like this is the planet where they all dress in silver costumes and they have hair that sticks up.
Yeah, I was going to say that before, because I watched Doctor Who and I watched Star Trek, and sometimes they were really time traveling, and sometimes it was just like the planet that seems like the Revolutionary War.
Yeah. Exactly. I think a lot of it is like what the costume department had left over. I mean,
right.
that's been documented that's actually true when it comes to Doctor Who. As for Star Trek, I'm sure that's true as well. It's like, what was on the Paramount lot? Well, use those costumes in an episode. It certainly upped the budget. But I really want to thank Liz and Rudy. You can follow the Timey Wimey TV podcast by going to @TimeyWimey TV on Twitter. You can also find Timey Wimey TV on Facebook. And you can also go to TimeyWimey.TV and listen to more episodes of their podcast. It's not every episode of this show is all sex talk. Not every episode is all talk of comedy and just being just funny. Sometimes we get into serious topics, like on this episode, talking about serious time travel.
Yeah.
So I want to thank them, and I want to thank you, Patrick, for being on the show with me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Because we're about to head off to this Batman event at Meltdown Comics. How can people find you?
You can find me at Patrick Ian Moore on Twitter, or if you Google Comic Book Live, I mean, we have a Facebook group, a Twitter, a YouTube channel, or,
Do you have a Tumblr?
Yeah. Comic Book Live.
Oh, finally. A Tumblr. Oh, that's good. I want
and an Instagram, and I think I have almost everything now, but...
I feel like there's always a new thing. I think there are too many. I think social media is now it's become a job. It's become something of a job.
If you're in the LA area too, we're performing constantly live in Hollywood, sometimes with Doctor Who live. I mean, fans of this would probably be big fans of that.
PodCRASH the same night. We have our 420 special on April 20th. Saturday, April 20th.
Speaking of Star Trek.
Yeah, Saturday, April 20th at IO West in Hollywood, 6366 Hollywood Boulevard. You'll see at, I believe at 8 o'clock is PodCRASH, right? PodCRASH that night, Doctor Who Live is the same night, and then also Comic Book Live with a special Star Trek edition of Comic Book Live, because the new Star Trek movie's coming out.
Star Trek 420. Maybe we'll need some more couch lock.
Yeah, exactly. More of the Canna Bliss couch lock stuff. I want to thank you guys for listening and supporting the show, PodCRASH. Remember, you can go to that, click on that Amazon link on the sideshownetwork.com/PodCRASH. And also you can follow me, Chris Gore, at that Chris Gore. You can follow the show at PodCRASH Show. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/PodCRASH. And remember, youtube.com/PodCRASH TV, live at WonderCon. You're going to see lots of live streaming stuff from there, in addition to our live show Saturday, March 30th. Thank you, seriously, for listening to this show and supporting PodCRASH and telling your friends all about it and for giving us a good to amazing review on iTunes. I really appreciate that. In fact, I've got to get back to I got to read some of these iTunes reviews. I will be doing that soon. And Patrick, maybe you'll end the show by saying,
"Let's get out of here."
Did we do it? We make a difference.
Oh yes, we made a difference. Thank you.
At least I could do. For the captain of the Enterprise. It was fun.
hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of person that obsesses over time travel. And if you do, you and I are a lot alike, and I like you, and for that you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042, Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036. You'll receive in return the PodCRASH Fan Club Kit, which includes a letter, a membership card, a sticker, and more surprises. And it's absolutely free. Just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the address that I just said. And as a bonus for continuing to listen, here's a little piece of special audio that you'll hear only if you keep using your ears. Later. Interestingly, time travel is not a part of anything Star Wars.
That is actually
I'm
interesting.
aware.
Yep.
However, I am told that...
oh, wait, no. I found there is one Star Wars time travel comic book.
What? Does it involve a big rabbit?
It is the best. No. It was.
Why is that your...
Because that was in, like, literally the comic book that came out right after Star Wars was Han Solo surrounded by bounty hunters, one's a giant rabbit.
The Marvel comic. Yeah, it was terrible. Like, they were like, you can't use Chewbacca, you have to use this giant rabbit.
Oh my god.
It was like... So no, it was, Dark Horse Comics, they have this thing called Star Wars Tales.
Oh, wait, it's the alternate realities.
Yes.
They're not, but see...
No.
You're talking about the alternate reality ones?
This short story someone wrote.
Oh, what is it?
Where it was just hilarious. Go read it. It basically, Han Solo, Chewbacca jump blind into hyperspace. Mm-hmm. And they move in space and time and they crash land into California. In the 1800s or something like that, he gets shot. Han Solo gets shot up to dead by. So
what you're saying is they go into the future.
They go into the future,
into the 1800s,
but here's the best part. It cuts to 1940 something, and a Dr. Jones is being led deep in the forest on a Sasquatch hunt. And they come across the crashed Millennium Falcon, and they say this is safe.
Okay, this sounds like a bad improv.
It is the best thing ever.